para que la puedan revisar más adelante. La verdad es que es un honor tenerlos aquí presencial y de manera híbrida, de manera virtual, porque hemos hecho un esfuerzo de atraer a los representantes de 10 universidades de Estados Unidos, que conversando con ellos en Washington nos dimos cuenta que iban a estar haciendo escalas en Sudamérica. Así que ellos de aquí van a seguir su recorrido, pero sí queríamos que ustedes tuvieran la oportunidad de hablar en persona con estos representantes y poder que les aclaren cualquier duda que puedan tener del proceso de admisión para licenciatura, para posgrado, para OPT, cómo conseguir diferentes tipos de información. Así que nuevamente les agradezco a Jovet un mundo por estar aquí, y sin más le voy a pasar la palabra a Carmen Arcadia, nuestra agregada cultural de la Embajada de Estados Unidos. Realmente, si no fuera por ella, yo no estuviera aquí. Así que hay que agradecer a Carmen, porque realmente le ha puesto mucho corazón a lo que hacemos en EducationUSA y a todas las actividades que hacemos aquí en el Panama American Center. Aquí también está Vilma de Ciudad del Saber, la Fundación de Vox, Teresa, y muchos aliados que nos han venido ayudando desde que empezamos en la pandemia de manera virtual. Así que muchísimas gracias a todos por estar acá.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos y todas. Soy Carmen. Can you hear me there? ¿En línea? ¿Estoy claro? Hopefully. Ok, vamos a ver. Yo sé que nadie está aquí para escucharme hablar. Yo voy a hablar un ratito en mi idioma preferido, que es Spanglish. Primero, gracias a Gladys y todos ustedes que están aquí con nosotros. I want to say thank you to all of the universities, the higher education institutes from the United States that are here. Panama is a gem of a place, as hopefully you've all already discovered. It is small but mighty, as Gladys always makes sure to spread the word, but there's such a richness of people here. It is truly the resource that Panama has, the gift to the world, is the incredible depth of knowledge, the culture, the people who are here in Panama. So thank you for representing the United States, thank you for representing our fantastic educational system, and hopefully you find lots of great new students while you are here. Y para los panameños, familias, estudiantes, organizaciones, todos que están aquí, agradecemos tanto esta oportunidad de compartir con ustedes sobre nuestras universidades y sistema de educación. Yo sé que todo el mundo ya sabe que Estados Unidos tiene las mejores universidades del mundo. Don't tell Europe that or any other countries. Y sabemos que las universidades en Estados Unidos son excelentes, maravillosos, top, y puede estudiar cualquier carrera, cualquier asunto, cualquier tema. Pero también, I won't say more important, pero es casi as importante, es la experiencia cultural de ir y estudiar en Estados Unidos. Es una oportunidad de hacer una conexión con una comunidad, con estudiantes de otros países, de cada país del mundo, y de aprender sobre nuestra cultura. Es una conexión, una relación que va a quedar de su vida entera. Y es no solamente en la escuela donde te va a estudiar. Por ejemplo, aquí hay Gonzaga University. Todas las escuelas aquí son excelentes, pero, por ejemplo, Gonzaga University, go Zags. Yo soy de la ciudad de Spokane. Y el orgullo de cada persona en Spokane, Washington, es Gonzaga. Porque es una escuela excelente, maravillosa, pero también durante el turno de básquetbol, Gonzaga es una escuela chiquita que cuando yo era joven nadie sabía de Gonzaga, pero they were small and determined, y ahora son uno de los mejores basketball teams en el país. Y de ir y apoyar deportes universitarios en Estados Unidos no es solamente sobre el deporte, es sobre la experiencia, la oportunidad de ir y sentar al lado de estudiantes de toda parte de la escuela, de profesores, de ex-becarios, alumni, de toda la comunidad que están ahí junto con sus colores, cheering on su escuela, diciendo Go Zags or Huskies, in my case, pero de cualquier manera, todas las escuelas tienen algo especial. Puede ser basketball, puede ser fútbol, puede ser teatro, deportes que son de fines de semana, arte, todo. Es una experiencia realmente cultural y cuando vas a estudiar en Estados Unidos es una oportunidad de ser parte de esta comunidad. Y quiero agradecer tanto de mi corazón que ustedes están pensando de estudiar, de apoyar, de ir a Estados Unidos y asistir a universidad ahí. Y con eso voy a dejar el micrófono a Gladys y a todas las escuelas que están aquí. Y agradezco tanto esa oportunidad. Y go Zags y go all the schools that are here. Pero más de todo, go panameños, go los jóvenes panameños que son el futuro de nuestra relación, esta relación tan especial entre Estados Unidos y Panamá. Es realmente debido de ustedes que esta relación tiene un futuro brillante. Muchísimas gracias. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carmen, for your time. We know you have to go, but we really appreciate it. Para los que acaban de llegar, puede haber más sillitas atrás. Thais, no sé si nos ayudas. Si no, al lado, aquí cabemos. Ahí nos apretamos un poquito, pero cabemos. Vamos a hacer una presentación breve. Voy a tratar de ir rápido, porque sé que quieren escuchar a las universidades y no a mí. Pero sí quiero hablarles un poquito qué es EducationUSA. ¿Cuántos de ustedes han estado aquí antes? Oh, no muchos. ¡Yay! Bienvenidos al Panama American Center. Esta es nuestra oficina, se estableció el año pasado, una oficina nueva. Para los que han estado en la plaza y pasan por acá, aquí hay muchas actividades culturales. Lo mejor es preguntarle a Thais antes de irse. Tienen toda una agenda en Instagram de actividades culturales para ustedes. Y está también la oficina de EducationUSA, que es otro programa también del Departamento de Estado. Yo soy la representante de EducationUSA, inicié literalmente una semana antes de la pandemia, así que todo esto lo hicimos virtualmente, incluyendo establecer esta oficina. Tenemos esta oficina acá atrás. Y tenemos estos eventos para ustedes de manera presencial y muchos webinars también de manera virtual para que puedan tener acceso a toda esta información. Vamos a hablarles un poquito rapidito. EducationUSA es un programa nuevamente del Departamento de Estado. Eso quiere decir que es de la Cancillería, o sea, del gobierno de los Estados Unidos. Estamos en más de 180 países. Yo soy la representante de Panamá, tengo colegas en Costa Rica, en Colombia, en Ucrania, en Corea, literalmente en todos los Estados Unidos, y las hemos podido conocer y es fabuloso, una red fabulosa de personas como yo que estamos aquí tratando de hacer lo que podemos en los espacios que podemos para traerles estas oportunidades a ustedes. Trabajamos en 5 pasos, aquí están en español, porque yo creo que esto es importante. El proceso de aplicar a Estados Unidos a veces pareciera que sea complicado, pero realmente es investigar opciones, porque trabajamos con las 4.700 universidades acreditadas en Estados Unidos y eso es bastante, mucha opción. Entonces, hoy, por ejemplo, tenemos para ustedes universidades grandes, universidades chiquitas, de la costa, del norte, del sur, y pueden ver las diferentes opciones. También opciones de carreras. Tenemos muchos webinars donde pueden hablar con personas que han estudiado ingeniería, psicología, han hecho doctorado, han hecho maestría, han ido a pasantías y pueden entender también las diferentes opciones de carreras que hay. Estudiar en Estados Unidos te permite también cambiar, mezclar también intereses y eso es muy importante también cuando hablen con las universidades. Los ayudamos, el paso 3 es completar la postulación, que quiere decir todo lo que es el Common Application, que nos ha tocado aprender. En septiembre vamos a tener otro taller en persona aquí, así que síganos en las redes para ayudarlos a llenar el Common Application. Es muy importante, es una sola aplicación. Yo le digo a los estudiantes, la mejor manera, no sé, como yo le entiendo, es como one-stop shop. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Es como si fueras al Blue Mall. En vez de ir a BBB y a Dorian's y al 99, vas a un solo lugar y ahí puedes aplicar a las diferentes universidades con una sola aplicación, un solo ensayo, y tienes tu proceso de carta de recomendación. Es mucho más sencillo que cuando yo apliqué a la universidad, que había que escribirles cartas, literal, ya, tirando cédula, a cada universidad. Ahora con el Common Application, después de la pandemia, muchas de las universidades están en el Common Application, entonces los ayudamos con eso y también tenemos recursos como el TOEFL para practicar el SAT y diferentes apoyos que tenemos de manera gratuita también para ustedes. Nosotros no aprobamos visas, eso lo hace la sección consular, pero en los eventos que hemos tenido sí invitamos a la sección consular para que le den tips, por ejemplo, lo que necesitan en la documentación que necesitan para poder aplicar a la visa de estudiante, que es un proceso diferente. Y también los ayudamos a preparar. Entonces, en esencia, investigar sus opciones. Lo voy a pasar bien rapidito. Hemos tenido una cantidad de ferias virtuales en la pandemia, ya se están haciendo de manera presencial. La más famosa fue el STEAM Open House, que tenemos 3 años haciéndolo con Costa Rica y ha sido un éxito. Muchos de los estudiantes que han aplicado a estas universidades lo han hecho gracias a esto. Este año tuvimos el evento en una plataforma nueva con 1,100 registros de Panamá, así que muchas gracias a todos los estudiantes que participaron. Y también tuvimos la presencia de Jim aquí hablando de OPT, cómo aplicar al Optional Practical Training, por ejemplo, y tuvimos a alguien del consulado. Así que muchas gracias por esas presentaciones que tuvimos. Aquí hay una foto. I think, Joe Beth, this was like one of the first times we were not even like officially open yet as a center. Remember? Where are you? Yeah. But we did do this program hybridly, así que ahorita es otra combinación de universidades que están aquí para enseñarles esas opciones que tienen. También, por ejemplo, hicimos un evento específicamente con facultades de Derecho, que ya para Panamá es un posgrado. También vamos a tener un evento más adelante en octubre, también con las facultades de Derecho, pero solamente como para darles idea de las distintas opciones de apoyo que podemos tener. En términos de financiar los estudios, muchos de ustedes me escriben que yo quiero beca, yo también. O sea, de verdad, o sea, desafortunadamente, o sea, la Embajada de Estados Unidos tiene programas de becas de movilidad, de intercambio, y aquí tenemos toda la información para eso. Y sí les recomendamos que apliquen desde que están en secundaria. Entre más programas hagan, mejor. Desafortunadamente para licenciatura la embajada no tiene beca completa, para maestría sí. Están las maestrías Fulbright, las maestrías Fulbright Senacid, hay una cantidad de programas para posgrado, pero para licenciatura lo que hacemos es que promovemos becas que ya pueden estar existentes. Por ejemplo, la beca Walton, beca Walton está abierta ahorita mismo, cierra en septiembre, así que hemos hecho webinars con ellos, hicimos uno hace un mes, que quedó grabado también en nuestras redes sociales. Ahí está toda la información de cómo aplicar. Esa es una beca buenísima que cubre todos los gastos para estudiantes de Centroamérica y México, y Panamá es uno de esos países. Así que si ustedes hablan inglés, es una buenísima opción para poder estudiar afuera. También las becas institucionales que puedan tener las diferentes instituciones, las ayudamos a promover. Las becas de la OEA, que están también disponibles para licenciatura y maestrías. No son becas completas, pero ayudan siempre con el financiamiento. Nuevamente, la beca Walton está abierta, ahí están todos los requisitos y tenemos esa información, y programas de intercambios como los que tiene la Embajada de Estados Unidos, son programas muy buenos que los ayudan también. Como les comenté rapidito, completar su solicitud, tenemos apoyo de Virtual English Language Fellow, que se llama Sebastián, nos está apoyando mucho con todo lo que es TOEFL, SAT, GRE, y para ayudarlos a la preparación de los exámenes. Toda la información de los registros está en la página de Instagram. ¿Cuántos de ustedes nos siguen en la página de Instagram? Ok, good. Si no tienen Instagram, abran una cuenta. Seriously. Solamente para que sigan a EducationUSA, a la Embajada de Estados Unidos, a CENACYT, ¿a quién más? A la Fundación de Bo, a Fundación Buenos Vecinos, o sea, ¿a quién? ¿A quién? Bueno, al Panama American Center, muy bien, puntos. A Ciudad del Saber, hay muchísima información, y no solamente para maestría, sino también hay ferias científicas, actividades. A la comunidad Doyo es otra buena para seguir. Tienen muchas actividades de tecnología, talleres de tecnología. Así que en el Instagram de nosotros reposteamos siempre información si hay algún challenge, si GBM tiene alguna pasantía, si el Smithsonian tiene alguna pasantía. Todo eso los ayuda para cuando van a aplicar. Porque los de las universidades no solo ven las notas y la parte cuantitativa, sino también el voluntariado, qué hiciste en la comunidad, qué hiciste durante la pandemia. Yo he sido evaluadora de becas, hasta de becas de Francia en mi vida anterior, y leemos los ensayos. Ajá. Pero ¿qué pasa? En Panamá, desafortunadamente, a veces no nos enseñan a escribir en español, mucho menos a escribir un ensayo en inglés. Entonces, para eso están los recursos. Así que no tengan miedo, porque esto se hace, o sea, tienen que tratar. Y ustedes, cada uno puede escribir su historia personal, que estoy segura que es fascinante. Entonces, en el Instagram sí quiero hacer una pausita rapidito, porque nosotros posteamos, además en los eventos de EducationUSA, reposteamos, por ejemplo, las convocatorias de beca. So right now, there's scholarships open, because I know everybody that's here, you're understanding what I'm saying. There are scholarships open, hay becas abiertas por parte de CENACYT, por ejemplo, para maestrías, para doctorados. Para ciertas de esas universidades tienen ciertos requisitos, y hay muchas de las universidades que cumplen esos requisitos que están aquí ahorita, ¿ok? Así que necesito que estén pendientes, porque estos procesos hay que hacerlos en paralelo. Van aplicando a la beca de CENACYT con los requisitos, los ensayos, lo que ellos piden, y a la misma vez hay que ir hablando con las universidades, porque si no tienen la admisión a las universidades, que son las mejores universidades del mundo, entonces no te sirve de nada tener el dinero, porque no vas a poder. O sea, tienes que trabajar los dos procesos a la misma vez, ¿ok? Entonces, por eso es que es muy importante que sigan el apoyo que les podemos dar para que puedan aplicar. Como les dije, lo último que hacemos es pre-departure. Este año hicimos algo muy especial como pre-departure. Llevamos a un grupo de estudiantes que hemos estado apoyando a que se reunieran con el administrador del Canal de Panamá. Y ya ellos, desafortunadamente, bueno, afortunadamente para ellos, se fueron hace 2 semanas, no están aquí. Pueden ser que estén conectados, porque hay varios que están conectados en las universidades. Pero antes de irse, les tenemos una sorpresa, porque antes de irse a estudiar a sus distintas instituciones, 4 de ellos pudieron venir aquí al centro y los pudimos entrevistar. No sé si vieron en el Instagram que Telemetros les hizo una notita. Ahorita les voy a enseñar, porque sí era importante para nosotros, sobre todo los estudiantes del interior y eso, que escucharan los testimonios de ellos. Así que ahora se los voy a mostrar. Nosotros estamos armando un Competitive College Club, que todavía estamos armando. Es un programa que aprendimos de nuestros colegas de EducationUSA en Ucrania y en otros países. Así que si tienen interés en esto, tienen un perfil de notas altas y ciertos requisitos, me contactan después de esta sesión, porque podemos tener un apoyo especial para este grupito, pero luego les hablo de eso con un poquito más de detalle. Marquen las fechas ahorita mismo. Hoy tenemos este evento presencial. Vamos a tener, como les dije, un taller para aplicar al Common Application. Lo vamos a hacer con la Universidad de Nueva York en Abu Dhabi. Ella ha estado, sería la 3ª vez que viene a Panamá. De hecho, uno de los jóvenes de Supérate se ganó la beca completa en Abu Dhabi gracias a una de esas visitas de Marcia. Así que, nuevamente, aprovechen cuando tenemos estos eventos de manera presencial, porque les puede favorecer. Como les comenté, también el jueves 12 de octubre vamos a tener un tour con las universidades de Derecho, y el 16 de noviembre es International Education Week. Ya tenemos un par de universidades que van a venir, así que esto todavía no está publicado, tienen la premisa por estar aquí, así que pronto síganos en las redes sociales para que tengan más información al respecto. Cualquier otra duda, aquí. Siento que me estoy extendiendo, no sé si hay más sillitas atrás. Oh, wow. O sea que hay más de 70 personas aquí, wow. Well, thank you. Bueno, les voy a mostrar el videíto, si me permiten. Me avisa si se escucha. Yo no tengo el Zoom aquí. No. ¿Ya? Ok. Ok.
En el 2016 me enteré del Centro Superate, que es un after school program que ofrece clases de inglés, cómputo y valores. Decidí tomar esa oportunidad y durante 3 años estudié inglés, cómputo y valores en el Centro Superate de Fundación UPA. Luego de eso, en el 2019, por medio del centro me enteré de la beca Jóvenes Embajadores, la cual es una beca que ofrece la Embajada de Estados Unidos para jóvenes que están interesados en el liderazgo, en el servicio a la comunidad y a la sostenibilidad. Apliqué a esa beca y fue un periodo de 3 semanas en donde estuve en Chicago y también en Washington, D.C. Conocí a jóvenes de distintos países como Guatemala, Puerto Rico y Costa Rica. Fue una oportunidad increíble para mí y decidí que quería estudiar ingeniería eléctrica porque me interesaba mucho el tema de las energías renovables. Es algo que hasta el día de hoy todavía me apasiona. Entré a la Universidad Tecnológica de Panamá y apliqué también a la beca ofrecida por la Fundación de Voz. Esta es una beca que ofrece la Fundación a jóvenes panameños que quieran estudiar en la universidad públicas o privadas de Panamá. Cuando me gané esta beca, yo cursé en la Universidad Tecnológica 3 semestres. Estos 3 semestres fueron online porque llegó la pandemia en ese momento. Así que la Fundación de Voz me apoyó durante todo este proceso de la pandemia y estar estudiando, y siempre estaré agradecido con ellos porque pude costear los costos de mi familia porque mi mamá había perdido su empleo. Decidí aplicar a la beca Walton y también tomar ventaja de los recursos ofrecidos por EducationUSA.
Me enteré respecto a EducationUSA y sus actividades gracias a un campamento de tecnología llamado Virtual Tech Summer Camp realizado en 2021, al que entré por curiosidad sobre conocer más aspectos de tecnología. Ahí pues me enteré de básicamente la puerta que se abría ante mí con todas las oportunidades que ofrecía EducationUSA sobre apoyo para aplicaciones a universidades de Estados Unidos y a becas para financiar dicho proceso. En el 2022, gracias al STEAM Open House, una feria virtual de universidades donde se convocan a muchas universidades de Estados Unidos, conocí a la universidad en la que voy a estudiar actualmente, el Instituto de Tecnología de Illinois. Allí, gracias a su apoyo, pude empezar clases virtuales desde la Arena de Chitré, con clases financiadas por la institución, y también me proporcionaron una beca parcial para mis estudios por EducationUSA. Me enteré del Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge, una competencia relacionada a ciberseguridad y políticas públicas que fue llevada a cabo este año en República Dominicana, donde nuestro equipo obtuvo el segundo lugar a nivel de Latinoamérica. Uno de los aspectos fundamentales que me ayudó a prepararme para estudiar en universidades de Estados Unidos fue haber participado en las Olimpiadas de Matemáticas desde que tenía 11 años. Siendo del interior, no fue fácil tener que venir a la capital todos los sábados a lo largo del año para asistir a las capacitaciones Quisiera aprovechar para agradecer a la Fundación Olimpiada Panameña de Matemática y a los instructores que estuvieron presentes durante todo ese proceso, que me apoyaron para ayudar a desarrollar mis habilidades y hacerme quien soy ahora. Eso a su vez me inspiró a entrenar a otros jóvenes también interesados en el campo de la matemática, y realmente me apasiona ver, posiblemente incluso más que mis propios logros, cómo esos estudiantes se desarrollan a sí mismos y logran cosas que no se habían podido hasta el momento. En el Instituto de Tecnología de Illinois voy a estar estudiando matemáticas aplicadas, debido a que la matemática en general es un lenguaje que funciona para describir los fenómenos que ocurren a lo largo del universo. De forma ya más específica, la matemática nos permite entender el funcionamiento de muchos de los fenómenos y creaciones que existen hoy en día, como la tecnología, por ejemplo. Y es analizar todos estos aspectos del mundo y la tecnología lo que me apasiona sobre estudiar matemáticas.
Para mí, todo el proceso de aplicar al exterior inició en tiempos de pandemia. Escuché de EducationUSA a través de redes, a través de Instagram. Vi que hacían eventos para conocer universidades, para aprender sobre el proceso para aplicar en Estados Unidos y en el extranjero en general. Y como yo sabía que me interesaba, al menos intentar estudiar afuera, entonces empecé a involucrarme, a participar, a preguntar. Y para mí, EducationUSA me ha ayudado un montón, porque yo al inicio, en esos tiempos, no sabía nada de este proceso. Sabía quizá cómo aplicar a la UTP o a la Universidad de Panamá, pero cuando uno quiere aplicar a Estados Unidos es todo otro mundo. Hay exámenes, hay ensayos, hay varios procesos para aplicar que uno tiene que hacer, y yo no sabía nada de eso, pero con la ayuda del equipo de EducationUSA pude empezar a informarme, podía hacer preguntas para conocer, para entender bien el proceso, para poder investigar, saber qué buscar, saber qué yo quiero de la universidad donde yo voy a aplicar, qué yo busco, pues. A través de los STEAM Open House, llevó a cabo la organización EducationUSA y conocí varias de las universidades a las que apliqué y a las que terminé siendo aceptado. Fui aceptado en University of La Verne en California, fui aceptado en Illinois Institute of Technology en Illinois, en Chicago. Y con la ayuda también de la señora Teresa, también conocí Georgetown University, que fue a la que también fue aceptado y a la que estoy yendo ahora. Yo voy a estudiar una licenciatura en Ciencia de la Computación en Georgetown University. Y yo creo que toda la vida supe que estudiaría un tema como este. Para mí es lo más natural. Desde muy joven me gustó la matemática, la robótica, la ciencia. Llevo desde los 9, 10 años participando en olimpiadas de matemática, olimpiadas de robótica. Y me di cuenta que cada vez que resolvía un reto matemático muy complicado, muy complejo, empezaba a preguntarme, además de resolverlo en papel, ¿se podrá resolver con la computadora? Me empezaba a preguntar si podía yo diseñar un algoritmo que yo pudiera programar para que la computadora me dé la respuesta automáticamente. Y me di cuenta que sí se podía, que sí era posible. Entonces empecé a aprender a programar. Buscaba cursos, tutoriales online gratis de Python. Y así poco a poco, con práctica, con un poco de apoyo también, empezó mi pasión por la programación. Y me di cuenta que las computadoras son una herramienta muy poderosa. El desarrollo de software, el análisis de datos, todos estos temas, la inteligencia artificial, son cosas que se pueden usar para resolver problemas de actualidad. Pero también es un tema que evoluciona constantemente. De un día a otro puede salir una tecnología que lo revoluciona todo. Y pasa todos los días. Entonces, por eso decidí que yo quería estudiar este tema en una universidad de alta gama, para así obtener la educación más actualizada, la más en punta, y así poder traer las mejores herramientas posibles de vuelta a Panamá. También tengo que agradecer mucho a la Fundación Olimpiada Panameña de Matemática, que me ayudaron a aprovechar al máximo mi tiempo como estudiante de secundaria, que a través de las Olimpiadas Panameñas de Matemática, que están abiertas a estudiantes de secundaria, pude expandir mis horizontes, pude aprender más sobre la matemática, descubrir mi pasión sobre los números, que es más allá de lo que uno ve en la escuela. y a través del programa de entrenamiento para jóvenes olímpicos pude llevar al máximo mis habilidades, pude aprender a pensar como matemático, como solucionador de problemas y pude al final alcanzar muchos hitos, muchas distinciones, muchas medallas para mí y para Panamá también. Y yo creo verdaderamente que sin ellos no estaría donde estoy ahora. Y también tengo que agradecer al club de egresados de Georgetown aquí en Panamá, que me recibieron muy cálidamente desde antes que me aceptaran. Y una vez que me aceptaron a la universidad también, que han ofrecido en cada momento su apoyo desde el momento que fui aceptado, y que en verdad es gracias a ellos y gracias a la beca institucional que crearon que para mí es posible iniciar la universidad este agosto.
Mi nombre es Franklin López y en pocos días voy a iniciar mis clases en la Universidad de Florida, en la ciudad de Gainesville. Voy a estudiar Plant Science o Biología Vegetal porque siempre me ha fascinado el mundo natural. Yo considero que en los seres vivos como plantas hay tantas soluciones para nuestras problemáticas actuales, como el hambre y la pobreza. Durante el tiempo que estuve decidiendo qué quería estudiar, participé de la Feria del Ingenio Juvenil de Senacid, del Symbio Bootcamp 2.0 que ofreció el Bridge Biofoundry y también del programa de enriquecimiento universal de Majuiba. Y estas experiencias me ayudaron a concretizar que quiero estudiar y trabajar dentro del ámbito científico. Asimismo, me gustaría agradecer a EducationUSA y a la teacher Teresa Rosemena por ayudarme durante todo este proceso de aplicación. Gracias a ellos pude prepararme para los exámenes del SAT y TOEFL, perfeccioné mi ensayo personal, que es uno de los requerimientos más importantes de las aplicaciones, y también asistí a ferias virtuales donde conversé con representantes de las universidades y pude hacerles mis preguntas directamente. Por eso quiero animarlos a que apliquen a las universidades que les guste, que se involucren y aprovechen las herramientas que ofrece EducationUSA gratuitamente y no se dejen intimidar por el proceso de aplicación. Si inician con tiempo, son constantes y pacientes, van a poder lograr todos sus objetivos.
¿Vieron? Tengo que serles honesta, es la primera vez que veo todo el video completo. Y la verdad es que, como dijo el doctor Vázquez ese día que lo visitamos, lo que es demostrable no es debatible. Y yo creo que más que sentarnos, Teresa o los otros counselors que están aquí o los representantes de las universidades, no somos nosotros los que les estamos diciendo, no son sus papás, no son sus tíos, son otros estudiantes como ustedes que lo lograron. Entonces, ya saben, sigan buscando sus sueños y ahora, sin más, ahora vamos a lo que vinieron. Jobeth, we're ready for you. Thank you. I had to show.
Buenas noches, buenas tardes, no sé, buenos días. I'm going to speak to you in English. I do speak Spanish, but we're here to talk about studying in the United States, so we're going to talk in English. If you have questions at the end of the presentation, we are happy to take your questions in Spanish, especially for the moms and dads in the room. I just want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us this evening. I love coming to Panama. I'm not going to tell you the first year that I came because it was a long time ago, But it's been a joy to come year after year and just see how wonderful things are developing here and how the interest of students in Panama just continues to be delightful, and that they're always looking to a really exciting, prosperous future, and anything that we can do from our point of view, bringing U.S. universities to share information and to share the exciting things that are happening in the United States with you all is just wonderful. I am going to hand over the mic to my colleague. Keep talking. We have 10 universities here, and they've come from all over the United States. Really, the goal that we have when we put together the groups is to bring you a microcosm of U.S. education. Gladys said 4,700 universities. Our goal is to bring you the 4,700 universities in 10 universities. So we have large state universities, small liberal arts colleges, faith-based, north, south, east, and west. So we're hoping that by the end of this evening, you have a really good understanding of what U.S. education is all about. It's a flexible system. It is an exciting system. If you can't find the degree that you are looking for, we'll invent it for you. So honestly, we are really excited to chat with you and to get you to listen to the university representatives, and then for you to have that face-to-face interaction with them. For those of you who are calling in and on the Zoom call, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We know that you're a little bit tired of being on the screens, but it is such a great opportunity to speak to those of you who are not in the room with us. You're probably glad you're not in the room with us because there's a lot of students standing. We apologize for that, but thank you for being here. Ready? Okay, so this is my colleague and dear friend Greg Walker, and he is going to be your man of the moment, and he's going to lead the discussion of an overview of U.S. education, why the U.S., and why is it worth it? We think it is. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, JoBeth. And so now our job is to introduce you to a little bit of the nuance that is the U.S. system of higher education. We're going to do that with some experts, not me. I'm just here to move the conversation along. And so we're going to call on the university representatives who have traveled, as JoBeth said, a very long way to meet with you today, and ask them to share some of their inside information, their best tips, their best explanations for some of those topics that may be very complicated or confusing, if I can figure out how to get this to stop where to go. And we need to go back one. There we go. All right, and first up is Mr. Jim Crawley from Hope College.
Thank you very much. It's so good to be with you. And please know that we are here because we are interested in you. We wouldn't have traveled all this way if we wanted to get students from somewhere else. So we're interested in you, so now you have to figure out why you might want to go to the U.S. There's many reasons. We put up a few up there, and there could be many, many more, but I just want to talk about a few of these because we want to move this along because we know you want to get out there and talk to us. So we do have a lot of flexibility in our system, like with majors. You can choose pretty much anything you want to, and you can even change your mind. That's okay too. In fact, most of our students do change their mind maybe 2 to 3 times in the first 2 years. So some students come and they know exactly what they want, but other students figure it out when they arrive within our system. And you can combine different majors so that you can create the program that is most beneficial to you because you're planning for your future. What does that look like? How do you get there? And that's our job to help you do that. Hopping down there, I'm going to skip through this a little bit, but it talks about, for example, the career services. Part of that is helping you to figure out with these majors, like, how do I get to my end goal? How do I become that job that I want to get into or that graduate school? Our career services offices help you from year 1 all the way through to year 4 if you're in the undergraduate program to help you figure that out. Everything from choosing your major to choosing majors and minors or double majors or whatever you're going to do, and then helping prepare you for when people come and interview on our campuses for internships or for jobs and making sure you're prepared for that. We have a very hands-on approach to our education. So many of us have a lot of research available, so whether it's research or getting you into internships or things like that. We're a very hands-on approach education in the United States, and we want you to get that overall experience. It's not just about being in the classroom. It's about practicing those skills that you're learning in the classroom, because the graduate schools and the jobs want you to come with experience. So how do we do that? Internships and things like that. So that's kind of getting toward the bottom. So that experiential learning, which is the internships, the research, the study abroad, the objective is to build your resume. Some people think the objective is to get the degree. Well, it is, but part of that degree is not just classroom work, it's building the resume. I go back to preparing you for your future, and that's what we're trying to do. Also, the vibrant student experience in the United States. Student life is so important a part of your US degree. Again, not just in the classroom. Many of us have hundreds of student organizations that you can participate in. Everything from kind of really maybe more fun and silly things like a Harry Potter club, for example, to a very scientific chemical society organization that you could be in that's very academic oriented. So we want you to have fun while you're also going through your education. We want you to continue to be involved in the things that are important to you. So if you're into the fine arts, keep doing the fine arts, even if it's just on the side. If you're into athletics, maybe you're a varsity athlete, maybe you're really, really talented, maybe you just enjoy working out. Whatever that means, keep doing it, because we want you to be comfortable and happy with your education. So finally, the one other thing I wanted to point out is that student services, we kind of mentioned career services, but I also want to mention that there's many, many other offices on campus that help you along the way. Everything from an international student orientation through to academic counseling, personal counseling, student life offices, clubs and organizations. There's so many things going on. So these are just a few reasons of why you might want to study in the US. You might have your own reasons, and that's great. So we'll move on and tell you a little bit more.
Thanks, Jim. And so, live and in person, I'm someone who changed my major at least once while I was an undergrad. We've got somebody else in the audience who just volunteered 4 times she changed her major. And so, it is very flexible. And to talk a little bit more about finding your fit is Fred Johnson from the University of San Francisco.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I know a lot of you guys are probably tired, so thank you for joining us. And in finding your fit, I'm kind of old, so I'm losing my eyesight, so I'm just trying to get closer to it. So I think it's easy to kind of figure out how to choose a university, but as I talk to students and I ask them, you know, how should you choose a university? Many times you don't really know, and when we end up choosing a university, sometimes we choose it because that's where our parents told us to go. That's where they studied. Maybe you heard of another student going to a university, and as you heard, there's over 700 universities in the US, and anytime I go to any country, so if I go to Argentina or if I come here to Panama, I always hear the same 20, 30 universities, and I think that's crazy when there's over 4,700 universities in the US that you can choose from, and just because you've never heard that name doesn't mean that it's a bad university, or does it? No. Many times you hear a lot of the Ivy League universities, and that's great. And we think we're all going to be admitted to them, even though they only admit sometimes 2%, 10% of students. So it's really important for you to look at the resources, use centers like the EducationUSA office here in Panama, use the internet, do your research, find what is your perfect fit. Do you like a university that's in the cold? Do you like a university that's in the hot? So just coming to Panama, I love coming here, but it's so humid. I don't think I would ever move here. I love you guys. I think the food is great. I think everything is great. It's just too humid for me. So the same thing for you guys. If you're going to go to the US is huge. So some parts of it is always cold. Some parts you get snow. Some parts you get a lot of rain. Some parts you get humidity. So if you love this humidity, you go to Florida. But then you might like the water. So you don't want to go to one of our states that's in the middle of the US because there's never water, but maybe there's a lake. Maybe that's important to you. I'm a city person, so if you put me in a campus where there's cows, you know, out my window, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna go crazy. But maybe you're not a city person and you show up, you wake up in New York City and the stress, the honking and all that stuff. For me, that's meditation. I like to hear people honking, I like to hear that. Every one of us is different. So be sure you find your perfect fit. Look for your academic program. Do they offer your major? Is there another additional program like a minor that you're interested in? Then what's the size of the institution? Some of our universities are 30,000 students, 40,000 students. Our institution can be a city. There's other universities that are really small. So my institution tends to be less than 10,000 students. Class sizes are about 22 students in a classroom. Once again, I like big cities. I want to be in an auditorium with 400 other students. I don't want the professors to know who I am. I don't want, whatever I want to hide. And there's other students that don't like that. I ended up going to a university where average class size was about 22 students. If I wouldn't have done that, I probably would have gotten lost in the system. I probably wouldn't have done good. My teachers would see me, they're like, Fred, where's that research paper? I'm like, how did you know? So it's up to you. Do you want to get lost with a lot of students? Do you not want to get lost with other students? The location, as I mentioned earlier, do they offer on-campus housing? You might not care about that, and then you're in a university where your housing might be a 20-minute drive or 30-minute drive. Maybe you're okay with that. I wouldn't be okay with that because I like to wake up 5 minutes before class, and I like to run to class, right? You're figuring a lot of stuff out about Fred, all right? Don't tell my boss. And then, do they have student organizations? How many? What types? Is it a professional student organization? Is it a social student organization? Do you like to bake and you want the baking club, the ski club? All of those types of things are important. Do they offer athletics? Obviously, you can see I'm not an athletic type of guy. I have competitions at restaurants with eating who can finish the food faster. So it depends on what you're interested in. But do they have athletics, internships, job opportunities, scholarships? Remember, as you're choosing a university, it's important to see how much they cost, but there might be scholarships along with that. So if they cost a lot of money, there might be a lot of scholarship money. And then on-campus jobs. Can you get an on-campus job? Can you work in the admission office? If you work in my office, I will send you back to Panama to recruit students. Okay.
Thank you, Fred. And so as you can see, we're moving from finding our fit, and we've all heard the devil's in the details, right? Now we're going to start the process. Now that we've identified some institutions in which we have some interest, we're going to start the application process. And to start us off is Stephen Bergman from North Carolina State University.
All right, thank you. I am going to start off talking about one of the two broad categories for the application process, and for me that is the quantitative. These are all the things that have numbers. So these will be really important as these numbers are used to kind of weigh you against other students and sometimes just for biographical information. So the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to have to fill out the application. All that stuff about your name, where you're from, your year in school, the school that you're attending, all that fun stuff. And then every school will have almost every school will have an application fee. Those can range anywhere from, I think, $25 at the lowest that I've seen, upwards of over $100, depending on the cost. But there will be an application fee. There are a couple of large or kind of common applications. So Common App is the biggest application system. There's another one called the Coalition App as well. It's a more selective group of universities. And then some universities have their own application system. There's no one that is better than another. It just provides a more broad way of collecting your information for multiple schools if you use Common or Coalition App. The next big thing that you're going to have is going to be your high school transcripts. You will have to submit an official transcript to your university. That is so the university can kind of weigh your academics versus other students who have done similar or different programs than you. Each university will weigh your transcripts versus other students using whichever system that they choose and how they decide they want to rate high school grades from one school versus another. It can be a little bit easier with things like IB and AP, but sometimes you don't have access to those. So each individual university will weigh those official transcripts as they choose. The next big one will be the exams. Now, at least one of these is going to have to be required. That's the English language exam. So either your TOEFL, your IELTS, or your Duolingo. The grade that you need will change based on the school, but you will have to submit that. And then SAT or ACT, they are the kind of common undergraduate test that you may choose to take. They're not always required, so check each individual school to which you are applying and see if it is either going to be required, optional, or if the university is test blind. And then the last big one is the financial statements, and that is a requirement by the university to show that you have the ability to pay for university. So as you are considering applying to school, knowing both what you can afford, what kind of options are available to you for financial aid, whether that is scholarships, loans, grants, or something else. So those are kind of the big numbers-based things that will be required or included in any application.
Thanks, Stephen. So one of the things that you may have started to pick up on is my favorite word when it comes to the application process in the United States. Anybody know? No, not you. It depends. 4,700 universities, the potential for 4,700 plus policies and procedures. It makes it a bit complicated. So by looking at lists like this in the qualitative, we're going to move into quantitative next, things that can't necessarily be grouped by numbers, but just start to think about personality, and the goal here is what? Fit. Finding the best place for you and the best student for the university and coming up with that fit. So all of this process is very individual. And the next person who's going to come up and give us some expertise is Teresa Howlett from Gonzaga University. We heard about the Zags earlier tonight.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, so all right. So we heard about the quantitative pieces of the application, and those are, of course, very important, right? What kind of student are you? How strong are you in your academics? The qualitative pieces are also very important. And so when we talk about qualitative pieces, these are the pieces of the application where you get to really bring yourself into it. We want to get to know you, right? You're more than a grade, you're more than a test score. We really want to get to know you and your character and what you're bringing to campus, right? So letters of recommendation very likely will be required. And a key here is to think about who knows you best, right? So usually a letter of recommendation will need to come from an instructor, from someone who has taught you in a class. And they can speak to your, maybe they're going to speak to your academics. Maybe they're going to speak to, maybe they were also an advisor in a club that you were involved in, and they can speak to your involvement in school. Think about someone who knows you well and who's going to be able to write about your character and kind of who you are. Very often, you'll be required to submit maybe a resume or maybe just a list of activities. In the Common Application, for example, it asks for students to list out activities they've been involved in. And when you're thinking about that information, you can get creative, right? So think about have you been involved in volunteering? Have you been involved in sports? Are you kind of a main caretaker in your home, right? Do you have a lot of responsibility when it comes to taking care of siblings? And so all of those things are part of who you are. They're things that you've been involved in, they're responsibilities that you've had. Include those in your application. A portfolio may or may not be required. It may be required for specific programs. It may be required for specific scholarships that you're applying to. Interviews as well may or may not be required. It depends, like many things. Some institutions recommend doing an interview. They recommend doing a meeting just as a way to show. One of the positive things about interviewing is that it can be a way to show engagement. It can be a way to show your interest in an institution, which can help in the admission review process. And then finally, an essay or personal statement. And what exactly you're required to write will depend on the institution and the program you're applying to. So an institution might require a single essay. They might require an essay and an additional kind of supplemental question. At my institution, we have a nursing program where students who are applying to the nursing program are required to submit an essay and a supplement, just like all other students, in addition to an essay related to their interest in nursing. So there might be program-specific requirements as well.
Thanks, Teresa. And so as you can see, Stephen mentioned, I believe, the concept of test blind or test optional. We're going to talk a little bit about that later in the program. But as you're starting to see, this process is much more personal than maybe you once thought. And so who likes to write? Anybody like to write in here? Good, because the next topic's all for you. And for even those you who don't like to write, you may have to write an essay. And so Ann Gogarty from the University at Albany is going to speak to you about essays.
Thank you. Hi guys, thanks for coming tonight. I'm going to talk to you about essays. A lot of times people get really stressed out about this, right? I know a lot of high school students get super stressed about writing the essay, and please don't. If you take one thing away with you tonight, it's to be yourself. That's who we want to see when you write an essay, is you. We don't want your mother's point of view, your teacher's point of view. No, we want yours. Now, having said that, you do need to read the instructions carefully, right? Answer the questions completely. My questions on my essay will be different than Jim's, will be different than other universities and colleges. Some universities and colleges don't require an essay. But most will, especially if you're looking for scholarships. Write about something meaningful to you. Describe what you learned from the experience and the encounter, how it impacted you. Sometimes we get tired of reading essays. Yes, believe it or not. Sometimes we get tired of looking at the same thing over and over. Don't tell us that you won a medal when you were 5 years old in the soccer championships in Panama City. That's great. We're happy for you. We really are. But what did you learn from that, right? How did it get you to where you are today? Maybe you had a big failure, and that was what really sculpted out your education path, why you are coming to my university, right? That's what we want to know. We want to know your path, how you got there. We can look at your resume. You're probably going to send that to us too, whether we require it or not, and that's okay. That tells us about you as well. But the essay gives you a chance to expand on that, okay? Present yourselves and your qualities in a personal, honest manner. Please start early. Write mini drafts, throw away a lot of paper. Don't think about the environment just for a second. Write a lot, okay? Write and write and write over again. Ask your friends, your parents, your teacher to look at your essay, and if they're like, yo, I don't understand this part, then you need to do it over, okay? Because it needs to be understandable. We know you're not novelists. We get it. We're not looking for perfection. Again, we're looking for your point of view. Why should we admit you? Why should we give you that scholarship? Why do you deserve it, right? Write captivating essays. Highlight what makes you unique. Write concise, clear, and informed. Of course, please, I'm from the University at Albany. Please don't write an essay to me to Gonzaga. That's really, that will get it into the no read pile right away, right? Yes, you have to check for spelling errors, things that are boring and mundane and all of that, but you have to do it. Make it look good. If we say we only want 1 page, we may not look at it if it's 1.5, okay? It's just can get very competitive, and again, particularly for scholarships when we're talking about money. Okay? Use formal English, proofread, have other people proofread it for you, and remember to show, don't tell. And there's one thing I really want to make a point about here. Very good. End and begin with a kicker. Get us interested. Think about the shows you watch. Think about the books you read. Think about the TikToks that you look at. You're going to swipe right through them if they're not interesting right away, right? Start with a kicker, end with an answer to the question. Why should we admit you? Right? Thanks, you guys, and good luck. Ask us more questions if you have them.
Thank you, Ann. I think one of the things to take away from this, obviously, is that We need to read the directions, we need to understand the directions, and we need to comply with the directions. If it says 500 words, that doesn't mean 550, and it doesn't mean 50. And so we need to read, understand, and comply. So the next component of the application that we're going to talk about are resumes, activity profiles, things that again demonstrate that you are the right fit for the university to which you're applying. And so Sergio Martinez from Northeastern University is going to talk to us a little bit about that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, hello, hola. So my name is Sergio Martinez from Northeastern University, as Jim said, as Greg said, sorry. Well, just to continue about this, you have heard a little bit on writing your essay. That gives you kind of an idea, and also on all the process of building your application. But in the case of the resume, of course, we want to know what have you been doing generally. In this case, obviously, we want you to let us know if you have been engaged in community services or extracurricular activities. Obviously, we know perhaps that like in a CV or in a resume, we always put, I studied this, I did my high school here, and this and this. Yes, that's good to know, but I think we are more interested in knowing you the best as we can. Not is kind of to demonstrate what you also are writing in your essay. I'm going to put it that way. As Anne just mentioned, yes, we want to know if what TikToks you're looking at, but perhaps another extracurricular activity might be, I founded the Taylor Swift club fan in Panama, and I have 500 members engaging, but I'm the leader. So that tells us something about you, and obviously that's really good to know. And again, obviously you are very young. You still have a lot of experience ahead of you, but still, that counts for us, and that is good to know that you have founded a fan club. I just use just popular example, I think. And obviously, the resume tells us your story, what you've been doing, what is your experience. Well, we want you to encourage as well not to exaggerate. For still you're young, but perhaps you've been doing so many things and this and this and this and this and this and that. But highlight what you think is the most important and what represent and what defines you. So that's one thing you need to know. And obviously, we have mentioned drafts, many drafts, and again, to write and obviously to proofread yourselves. And you need to be aware of what you're writing, because what you write is what we are looking for, and that if we see some mistakes there, probably you have not put that much time in your application. So yeah, and in the case of jobs, working in a cafeteria is perfect. Like, yeah, you've been doing that, so you know how to handle money, you know how to service, how to be gentle to people. That's an example, so that counts. So don't be also shy to put that on your resume. And yeah, and I will hand back the microphone.
Great, thank you, Sergio. I think a couple of things to pull out. You're starting to see, remember, this is all about the fit. Research that you've done about the institutions in which you have interest, understanding how you meet those needs, how you meet the expectations and the culture at the university. They're looking at your resume, your application, your essay, all of the components of your application to make sure that you will be successful when they accept you. Everybody in this room is looking for a successful outcome. We're going to move right on in our conversation to portfolios. And so that is the next part of this. And we have Miss Lauren Perry from Albion College in Michigan.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here today. Excuse my voice. So is anyone in the room involved in the fine arts? So that includes theater, music, creative writing, arts, any of the arts. Raise your hand. Anyone? A few of you? How exciting. Okay, a little bit? Fantastic. So we wanted to share with you what could be helpful when you are looking at schools and you're trying to decide if you're into the fine arts. You might be trying to decide, do I want to choose a school that is a conservatory, or perhaps they are specifically known for musical theater, or maybe it's an interior design school and you're looking for something very specific. That's one direction. And then the other direction is, there's so many schools where there might be these different departments and majors that exist that are fantastic. And in addition to that, they have, all of your more traditional departments and majors as well. And so one thing to keep in mind, a lot of schools, when you're deciding whether or not you want to be a part of one of the fine arts departments, they might ask you to audition, right? They might ask you to prepare an audition piece. Now, for theater majors, this could be preparing a monologue and picking from 2 separate genres. If it's musical theater, they might be asking you to pick specific songs, and they're giving you the lengths, and they're telling you kind of, what the parameters are. If it's art, they might be asking for certain, from a portfolio perspective, they want to see your work. They want to see what you love. They want to see, just kind of the breadth of your talent. So I would say, depending on your direction, make sure when you're looking at the schools, you're asking the questions to understand, what do you offer from a fine arts perspective? If I want to be a theater major at your school, do I need to audition to become a theater major at your school? Or am I allowed to join and declare that as my major and not include any type of audition process? So many schools allow that. However, the other angle of it is maybe a lot of schools also offer scholarships connected to these different fine arts divisions. And so I would ask all those questions. I know myself personally, I studied theater and creative writing. I am a huge, huge fan of the fine arts. I deeply love them. I also play the violin, so I received a small scholarship for violin, but I did not major in music. So I would say, ask the schools that you're talking to. What are, again, the parameters? Can I act and audition for a play, even though I might not want to major in theater? I want to be a business major. I don't want to major in theater. A lot of schools will allow you to do that. Some won't. So I would just say, be aware of that. Ask the questions that you need to ask. Also, if I want to go to AMDA and I want to study musical theater, find out, is the audition process available only in person? Or do they also offer the virtual experience as well? Or do they come to me? Because a lot of schools do come to you. So I know Juilliard is a big example of this, right? They are traveling. They are traveling over the globe so that they can meet with you and audition with you. So I would say, again, depending on the schools you're looking at, we all have a bit of a different way we approach it. And so I would make sure you're asking the right questions. You're looking at all of the parameters. How many pieces do I need to prepare? How many art pieces do I need to share? Do I need these things in order to audition for a scholarship, or do I need them in order to actually enter into that department as my major and declare that as my major? So I know it's a little, it can be one of those things, not overwhelming per se, but every school's a little different. So ask the questions. We are all here because we want to support you in your decision of where you'd like to study, right? And we all want to help guide you and give you that extra guidance and support for the different questions that you have. So that's just a couple things, and I know this can share with you as well. And a big thing here it says is to showcase your strengths. Share, similar to the essay and the different things that you're already working on. Share your portfolio pieces with your teachers, with your mentors, with your muses, and make sure that share it with your friends, your parents, your family, and make sure to practice, because we all get our nerves, and if you're in person and you're auditioning, the nerves can come, and we understand that, but we know you're human, and we love that about you. So yes, thank you for letting me share that with you, and again, as you're kind of walking around, talk to us. If you have any fine art specific questions, we can definitely guide you with that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I think what you've noticed here is that you've got incredible talent and knowledge in the room, and everyone here is looking to help you find the appropriate fit. So that's a very personal experience. This is not the time to be bashful. It's not the time to hold back, but it's the time to make good matches, good selections in your research, understanding what you're looking for, knowing that that could possibly change. We're going to pivot here just a little bit and move into something that is a little bit confusing sometimes, and that's the calendar or the process by which you need to apply, deadline dates and things like that, and what do they mean. So we have Natalia Zavala here from Fordham University, and she's going to walk us through these options.
Good evening, everyone. All right, who in the room is exactly clear on what all those acronyms mean by a show of hands? Me too. That's what it was like for me when I was going through the application process, because it's just a bunch of letters, but it means something really important. And it is all those elements that we've been hearing about. When do you turn them in? When do you need to have them prepared so that we can review them and hopefully accept you into our different institutions? So I'm going to start with the three options, right? EA, ED, RD. And my goal is that when I'm done in 2 minutes, that you understand what kind of fit works for you for each of the decision-making processes. So I'll start with the most binding one, which is ED, meaning early decision. So it's legally binding. What it means is the student is asserting through like picking early decision as the deadline that they want to submit for, that they want this school above all others. So if you're admitted, you have to come to the institution that you applied through to early decision, which means logically that you can only pick one. So you can't pick 3 schools for which to apply early decision. It's incredibly competitive because we have all of these students saying, I want to go to your institution above all others. And this option may not be available for all, but for those that it is, and you think that you want to assert this level of commitment, it is an option for you. However, you usually need to meet full demonstrated needs. So that's something that's a conversation as a family, right? Does your family have the financial resources to back up that level of demonstrated interest? However, demonstrated interest doesn't need to have that financial backing. And that brings me to the second option, early action. This is non-binding. It means that you can apply early action to, for example, my university, as well as any other university that offers early action. The common deadlines for early decision as well as early action are November 1st, November 15th, December 1st. And what this allows with these early options, binding or non-binding, is that you hear back from us earlier and you have more time with your decisions to compare the financials and also to sit down and really think about what you want. And it's more competitive usually than our regular decision pool because the students who apply early already have the best portfolio, the best grades, everything they believe is the best reflection by November 1st, by December 1st, by November 15th. However, for our students who want to show progression in grades, who in 10th and 11th maybe didn't do so well, but want to show us that in their first semester of their senior year, they really kicked it into gear, they started a club, they improved their grades, and they still want a chance at being in our applicant pool, regular decision might be the shot for you. It also gives you more time to prepare all of your materials and more time to think about, do you really want to apply to this institution versus another one? However, the majority of our applicants end up either being deferred from early to regular, or they end up just applying regular. So that is something to take into consideration. Our regular decision pools are getting larger and larger. So if you're sure about an institution and you prep your materials early, you can pick one of the early options that best works for you. So it's not about where am I most likely to get accepted. It's what fits me best based on what my credentials are and what institution I want to attend. So hopefully I left you with a little more clarity, so the next time I ask you what do those acronyms mean, you kind of can defend yourself.
Thank you very much, Natalia. And so as you think about those issues of early decision, early action, regular decision, does that mean anything about the quality of the institution, the quality of the university, the calendar on which they operate? Absolutely not. It means that that's part of their character, and so judging an institution based on their admission process isn't a safe judgment. Again, it's part of that fit, finding the one that makes the most sense and the best decision for you. We're going to leave you with one last slide here because now we've talked about all of this stuff. We're going to wrap it all up in one slide. It's going to be really easy, right? Do's and don'ts. So if you do everything under the do's and don't do anything under the don'ts, you should be good, right? Just have to remember all those things. And Hain Lee from Arizona State University is here to walk us through the do's and don'ts.
Thank you. Hi everyone. How are we doing? Good? Awesome. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to share do's and don'ts. I mean, if you take a look at the slides, it's kind of duh, right? But let me tell you why. Do's and don'ts. As I myself, I used to be an international student, so I 1000% agree with these do's and don'ts because I went through this application process. So I really hope that this can help you. So can we all read the first one together? Loud. Plan ahead. Use your time wisely. Meet deadlines. So we just talked about we just learned about like early action, early decision. You know, depending on the institution, you know, some institution might have it, or some institutions might have rolling basis, right? So it doesn't matter. If you know you're going to study at a university, and if you know which school you're going to apply, do it quickly sooner than later. Don't wait till last minute, because if you have the decision earlier, then you can have choices and more options for scholarships, housings, or schedules, class schedules, or any special extracurriculum you want to apply for. You can have more options to apply for. So that's why we encourage our students to act faster. And then a few other do's we already talked about. You know, research your research university that might fit your interests and needs the best. We have a different sizes, campus lifestyle, or program choices. You know, whatever you want to look for, just discuss with your family and yourself, and then what is important for you. Prioritize what's important for you, and then make the best decision. Big institution doesn't mean that it's going to be good for you. Smaller institution doesn't mean that it's gonna fit for you, right? So whatever you wanna look for, there's gonna be somewhere. We have almost 4,000 universities out there, right? And pay attention to scholarship. How many of you are interested in scholarships? I do. Yeah, I do want to get a scholarship, right? There are a lot of requirements and deadlines for scholarships or financial aid. Some scholarships might be automatic process, but some don't, right? So just pay attention to those scholarships so you don't miss out. It's free money, right? So you have to pay attention and invest time and effort. And how many of you here have Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook? Yeah, I do too, right? So when you think about you want to know someone, what's the first thing you would do? You look for their Instagram account or Snapchat, whatever they're on, right? So make sure that someone else can do that to you too, right? It's the best you don't post anything inappropriate, but if you already have, then this is a great time to clean them up. Okay, so when you go home today, look all the histories, okay? All right, those pretty straightforward. Who is going to go to school? Who's gonna study in the university? You, right? So you are the one has to be prepare the application. You have to be on top of the process. That doesn't mean you cannot seek help or support. We have other professions here, and then all counselors here. We're all here to help you. So make sure that you ask help, but don't make them do your work. You're the one who has to do the work. And then prepare application, trying to impress the reader, that's big no-no. So for essay, personal statement, whatever you're working on, don't try to impress someone. Focus on yourself. What strength, what aspect, what can you present about yourself? Focus on yourself and then be authentic. And then miss the deadline, that's a big no-no as well, right? And then last one, can we all say this loud together one more time? Don't forget to say thank you to everyone who helped you in your application process. I really think that this is a very important tip. During your application process, there will be a lot of people who support you and gave you help. And if you just write a simple thank you note or thank you email, that will be help you to prepare for your next step. You might want to go to grad school. You might want to seek for career opportunities. This little action will actually say loud. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you, Hayne. Students, don't forget to say thank you to your parents. Parents, thank you for coming and sitting here. Thank all of you for coming and spending time with us today. I hope that each one of you has walked away from this evening with something new, something helpful that you can take with you as you go continuing the search process and beginning the application process. We, in the interest of time, are going to stop the presentation here. JoBeth will be coming up to take a few questions while I encourage the university representatives to be ready at their tables, and then they will be available to answer the specific questions that you may have about their institutions. Again, thank you very much for being here today. Let's thank the expertise in the room for coming up and sharing their speeches, their information with you. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to JoBeth.
JoBeth, I think we only have one question from the audience.
Okay.
It's like a game show. We have a question from the audience.
Door number 3.
I know, right? ¿Qué porcentaje de todas las admisiones son realizadas en etapas de early admission o early decision?
Y no lo podemos contestar.
Yeah,
we can't.
So it depends on the on each institution. So.
Yeah, and it varies year to year, and it's really become more competitive in the last 2 years with the change in policies with testing. And students are applying more and more early, in early action, early decision. So as that pool gets bigger, that becomes more competitive. And actually, we were talking today, I was talking to Natalia, and Fordham has had to actually implement early action 1 and 2.
Oh, wow.
So, early decision, 1 and 2. So, yeah, it's becoming more and more difficult to handle.
So I guess it depends on the institution.
It's
so
institutionally driven.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's why you have to take advantage and ask each of the representatives that are
each
here.
one, yeah.
Okay, I think that's the other questions. I've been responding.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
Okay. Anybody here have any questions before we break? I know you're all anxious to talk to the university representatives, and we're anxious for you to do that. So,
Pregunta, ¿la pueden hacer en español también?
sí, ¿alguna pregunta que ya quieren hacer en español? Mamá,
¿Alguna
papá.
pregunta de alguna de las presentaciones? No.
We did a great job.
Oh, excelente. Bueno,
Okay, I just want one thing. Actually, 2 things. First of all, muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes por pasar esta tarde con nosotros. Y si pueden juntar las sillas, sería fantástico. Así van a tener más lugar para pasear y charlar con las universidades. Estamos hasta las 20 horas, hasta las 8. Y por último, el registro.
Hoy, necesitamos asegurar que en esta mesa de CEO
Sí, yo
que
voy a
esté
estar
firme. Vayan a JoBeth para que se aseguren que se registren presencialmente. Muchísimas gracias a todos por estar aquí.
Si le pueden apilar las sillas, ¿sí? Sería conveniente, así van a tener más lugar para ir caminando.
Y a los que nos acompañaron virtualmente, muchísimas gracias. Sigan cambiando su futuro. Nos vemos. Gracias. Bye.